This is Justin Amazon on March 22nd, 2018, Thursday. Take a look at the pre-market before the candles opened up the day. And we were down in the lower range of yesterday at the open. So around the 5-minute here. And we're going to step into the opening candle, which dropped even further, taking out yesterday's low. And then, some buying came back in. So we don't have any prices drawn in here until you get back up to the 1578. There wasn't a great place to buy support down here other than, the low from yesterday, or you'd have to look back a few more days to find when we were back down in this area. But then we get an inside candle, and this is getting a little tighter. So, it's possible that, okay, if we're going to go bullish, 1566 by maybe 1578 or 1558, excuse me. So that's around an 66 to 58. Yeah, so around an $8 range that you'd want to probably be doing with shares for $8, or get some options that are further away, more time. The next candle breaks out, so it does go bullish. This kind of looks like a Morningstar reversal here. You're triggered in if you had gone in above the high here with the stop weight on here. And this is something that, because you're gapping down from this price, I think yesterday turned out to be a slightly bearish day. So it's a bearish retest gap. And even though you open up within the day, you're taking out anybody who bought in the close yesterday. And so those folks are losing money, so they may be getting out or buying to cover, and that's what's causing this to come up a little bit. Then we got small selling, nothing compared to these buying wicks down here. We're not even competing or anything against any of these ranges. The opening in the pre-market or the high in the pre-market around 1574, and then we get this pullback back into this range. If you were still bullish, you could have bought in there. Bounce a little bit and come back up. So we get up here, come right back up to almost 1574, the pre-market high. The low of the candle, right around this area of the candle that closed yesterday, that was a huge push higher that I thought would have meant more buying, and instead we take that candle out at open, we come up and retest it, and then from here we go back down. And so if you had bought bullish, the break above the opening candle, maybe you locked in something at this high, but it may have only been about maybe a 1R, maybe not even that much. But this being a bearish retest, you're going to want to just scalp, just take something quick, take some quick profits. This starts to break down. These two candles together, if you're going to merge them together, they're a bearish engulfing of the previous candles, and this could be the first signal that we have that, hey, this is going to roll over. You get a small candle, not quite inside of this one, but it's again, it's an indecision candle, low volume in this case, but you could have had a setup to get in bearish below it or get in bearish down here. But this, again, is right in the middle of our range, so not the ideal location to get in, or maybe just trim up a stop. We get a bigger candle and then a move down into a couple small candles again. In this case, it's an inside day candle and another breakdown. So if you had sold up at this place up here on the high from the pre-market and held through all this, even back, taking it back down to the low, that would have been an incredible profit on the bearish move. You got the squeeze that formed, the rollover on the momentum going, pushing bearish. But it didn't really, let's see, I think it got a little bit lower here. So it came down to 1550, but with that kind of candle. And that's kind of candle, it's like, I'm going to tighten my stop, or I'm just going to get out, because it's really bullish. It opened here, sold way down over $5, and then got bought all the way back up and ended positive. So that's a very bullish candle, a lot more buying than selling. And it, even though you had the squeeze form bearish, you had a couple opportunities. These candles, If you had just gotten in down here, you know, you had waited too long, you were waiting for a break below the low, and you know, what happens next is it just kind of bounces slowly. Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. I looked this over and forgot that it actually came back down again. I was thinking that was the low. Anyway, yeah, this would have been a great place to time a stop going bearish. Had you tightened up your stop or left it, you know, up here, you would have made a little more profit. Came back down into the 1546 area here with another bullish looking candle with the a large lower wick, similar volume. But, you know, after putting this one in, now this one, it's like, okay, well, what's going to happen? It's going to happen again. You've had 25 minutes of selling. And, oops, I didn't mean to scroll that much, but another 3 more candles. So now you're at 40 minutes of selling. You're trying to push through this low. And what happens? Does it keep going? No, it starts to kind of chop and go sideways through here. You get this candle, and that's, again, I like these candles with the large wick. You know, even the open had a large wick. This had a large wick, large wick, large wick. These candles are key points to watch for what happens next. We held the low here. We're breaking above the high. Could have gone to this candle. Could have waited for a retest. You know, pull back into that. This starts to look like a double bottom with a retest. And this starts to look like a small consolidation. And then you start breaking bullish. All the while holding this low. And, you know, if you're in on this, you could have been, you know, looking for a target up to, you know, these candles here, 1560. I think you got that pretty quickly. Yeah, it came close here. Pulled back, yeah. So, again, anything with these candles today, just looking like something you need to take some profits as soon as you get it. So, double bottom here, kind of a quick retest, a bigger retest. And you got the squeeze forming bullish now, and you ended up moving bullish a little bit more. So I think I was glancing at the stock around here, and, you know, seeing this consolidation and up in this space, much smaller candles than these larger ones we had earlier in the day. We're in the lunchtime hour now, Central Time, so, you know, some of this was Eastern Time. With the some larger candles, but, you know, usually quieter through here. The volume's been pretty low. You know, it's building up some momentum. What's going to happen? And then it starts to look like it's rolling over. So again, you're looking at it as a bearish. You know, you retested, you ran, you came back up and retested. But what are you retesting? This candle has an open and a high that are the same, so the shaved top. We almost got there, so that could be a good resistance in intraday. We've already taken out the low of the day, you know, with this move, and then with this move, and now we've come back up, and it looks like we've kind of turned a corner. You could say maybe this is a shoulder, a head, and another shoulder. So here's a retest of that neckline. Okay, good. It could just go higher, and go do a couple more candles here. And I think I looked at it about here. Let's see, what is this? 128. I'm like, wow, that really looks like right here. This really looks like that's the signal to break down. You took out this consolidation, you took out a bullish candle. You're, you know, fighting with the low of another bullish candle that was a breakout above some of these resistances. You've held that shaved top bearish candle. You know, this could really be a good signal to go bearish. Retested, so, you know, somewhat of a little flag here. And then the next candle, and I already showed it, is another breakdown bearish. And I'm like, that looks great. And I didn't get embarrassed. I'll explain why in a little bit. And this candle starts to move that way. Great. Comes back up and retests. You get these two candles. This is phenomenal. And I didn't notice this during the day. The high here is 1559.77. The high here is 1559.77. Same high. Bullish candle then bearish candle. That's what we call that's what we call a tweezer top, and you could easily just set up a trade where you get in below the low, bearish, and a stop above the high. And in this case, pretty crazy what happens next. You get a high wave candle that would have triggered you in on that trade. High wave, could have easily gotten in on this candle, or gotten a better fill if you had seen that it would have triggered you in with a move there. Could have had a stop up here. What I was looking for at this is to actually get in on these candles to go bearish, and I wanted a stop that was up here, and I was looking at puts to do it. I was looking at the 1540 puts, strike 1540 strike put expiring this week, tomorrow, and I didn't get in, and I'll explain when we take a look at the options. I was looking for a certain price, and the option spread, the bid-ask spread, was huge. With all of the indecision today, with this kind of a wave going on, there's a lot of extra premium on the options that will all disappear by the end of the day tomorrow, obviously. And so I'm hoping that we'll have something that will lose some premium and then have a bigger move and have to have some intrinsic value come back into it tomorrow for an out of the money option, or a strike that's near the money, something like that, or maybe barely in the money too. We'll see. So that'll be for tomorrow. But anyway, with these candles, I mean, even you could have just shorted the shares and gotten in here. We've lost our momentum. We, rallied up into this. The squeeze ran out, rolled over, and what happens next is phenomenal. We take out this low, and then we continue. We take out this low, and after this, so the other thing I'll point out here is I was seeing higher low, potential higher low, looking to bounce, and then on the top side, here's here's a high, here's a higher high, here's a higher high. So it looks like you had a large move down, then you retested back up, to a certain percentage of it, and then now you're rolling over again on your bearish retest gap. And we continue and start to bounce right in here, the previous low of the day. Great place to take profits, great place to tighten up your stops, and consolidates, 25 minutes just going sideways in here, $5 range, but still, this is sideways based on the range we've seen on some of these candles. And then we make some lower lows. We actually made a lower low, rallied, fell to make an even lower low into the 1542 range here. Inside 5 minute, inside 5 minute, and that's how the day closed. And so this would have been anything from here down, from that candle down, and I didn't pause on this candle to talk about that candle, but that is a phenomenal candle. You have this breakdown, you have a retest into that same range, could have had an entry here with a stop up here, and gotten in bearish on that candle, or waited for the breakdown of this candle or the retest here. There was just some signals here that's like, okay, we're bearish. Let's retest. Great candle. Okay, we're bearish again. Retest that candle. I mean, even if you just done an entry below and a stop above, it's possible it would have been filled in the next candle, or possibly here, depending on how much range you gave it. Anyway, just all those ways to move bearish. So take a look over at the options. So the first option we'll look at is the call, because we were breaking up bullish in the morning. You would have had to been nimble, because you could have gotten in, I think it was this breakout here. So the high on this candle actually was a high here. That was the interesting thing, is after that opening candle, you didn't get back above the high of that, except for a few dollars or a few cents here. You probably would not have made anything on this if you had gotten in after that inside candle. It's possible you got in at 17 something, 1750, but you would have been, like I said, really nimble to get out on the very next candle, the high. And you were not doing this with a $100 risk, because it just moved too much, and the spread was out and it was insane, outrageous, insane. That's what I'm trying to say. And there was a spread for the bid ask on the options of around $2 at some instances of the day. And with a risk of 100 or 1 point or whatever, it was just it was way too much. It just wasn't feasible for me to trade that today. And so even later in the day, when you came into the low of the day and it started to rally, some of these, still had some pretty large range on them for the bid and the ask. And, it's hard to look at this now and not see it live during the day of how the options were moving. But, somebody could have set up a trade to buy here and would have immediately been stopped out here because the bid ask was so wide. We'll swing over to the put, 1540 strike put expiring tomorrow that I was talking about. And it was, let me switch back over here, sorry. I believe like this candle at 115 or like these candles at 140. Where we had some more of that rollover. So this down here is a little bit early. Let's see. So 115 would have been this candle. That price was 475, and the previous low here was 371. So that would have been, more than $1 of risk with a spread that was really wide. It didn't look feasible to do that. And then on these candles here, it was at 140. Whereas these candles, had I just bought on these candles with a stop below, say here, that would have been buying at 5, maybe 525, with a stop below 475. So maybe 450, maybe 425. But again, with such a wide range on the bid ask, I could have easily been just stopped out. But as these candles, it was looking more bearish and would continue. And had I bought here for, a 5 by 4 entry, that would have just ran. And back down at the low of the day, getting in on these candles at bearish at $5, the stop at $4 would have put me something like an entry here, a stop maybe up here, something like that. And then that just fell down and came down to the previous low of the day and then made a new one. And what the option did is it didn't actually get all the way back up, but had you been watching the stock price and this large candle here on the option, maybe you were one of the ones who got out at 1050 here at the high, got in at 5, the exact price of that candle, and sold at the high here. Maybe you didn't do that. Maybe you actually got in at 5 and then got out in this area, even if it pulled back. On this one, you got a bad fill. You got in at 5, got out at 7. That's 2R. I mean, anything in here, when it was showing some wider candles to end the last hour of the day, you could have locked in anything from a 7 price up to 1050, and all of those, I mean, would have been 2, 3, 4, 5 R's on just that trade. So these are out here. These trades are available. They're challenging on days like this when the VIX is really high and there's a lot of premium because there's a lot of people who are just buying, thinking, oh, it's the time to get into something, or selling, and there's uncertainty. So the volatility goes up, and that gets baked into arbitrary options prices. That makes it really hard to trade options with a small risk. And so a day like this, I would have loved to have some smaller candles, some clear things setting up to get in on, and I just was not able to do that because of the wide spread on the bid and ask. So, like I said, I'm looking for some things to slow down a little bit tomorrow, or at least some premium to come out of things tomorrow, and then have some moves set up. This kind of move, actually, let's switch back here. This kind of move where we have a rollover that pauses, breaks down, pauses, and then really breaks down to the low of the day. That kind of move on an option expiration day in the afternoon like this, where the premium is mostly sucked out on low of the day options. There's no way to say it would get back down to the low of the day, but even a $10 move, from what was 1565 to, this moved 20, but even a $10 move, that would have been something if you're at the strike of like the 1550 or the 1555 1550 maybe didn't move too much. Once it got actually in the money, but you know, the 1540 that I was looking at was down a little further. It definitely didn't get there. It looked like it could have actually with this candle, because the low here was 1542.40, but then that's where it bounced, and we're right at the end of the day. So you know, you're just hoping for it to continue again after, you know, consolidating for 30 something minutes here. So tomorrow I'll be looking for some of these higher, longer wicks and some consolidation at key points, you know, so shaved top here, tweezer top here, things like that. The one last thing I'll finish up with is what I didn't show you, and that is looking at what happens after market today. So we closed up here around 1545, and we go sideways for a while, and then in the last 2 hours of the post-market session, it breaks down through this 1540 price, kind of has a small S curve, and then it rolls over again. Doesn't even pause at the 1528. Comes all the way down to 1518, just a touch above our previous price at 1514. And so if we open down here and sell right away into the 1514, that could actually be a great place to buy. And it's crazy to say that, but what this looks like to me, oops, make the wire on the screen. What this looks like to me is a really large distribution here and bouncing, and it'll be just a question of, will this bounce on this level like it did way back here, or are we actually breaking down? But after this kind of a move where we're so bearish here, you know, this consolidation, bearish again, you know, it's very possible. Last time we did this kind of move where we had a squeeze form, you know, a lot of bearish momentum. I mean, maybe it was here, and what we did in here is we moved from around 1590. Let's see, 15, yeah, right about 1590, all the way down to 1525, 28, something in here. Let me get the cursor right on there. That was 1525 was the low. So this was around like a 65, a $65 move here, and it's very similar for where we were just up here around you know, the high 1590. The squeeze hadn't formed yet, so if you go off of where the squeeze is, you've got, you know, 1583. So if it moved like it did here with the squeeze, or let's see, oh, the squeeze didn't start right here. I kind of got it. So, you know, if you get a $65 move, that brings you right down into this price again. Not quite to the 1514, but that's what we'll have to wait and see. You know, with this kind of quick move up, now we've had two pullbacks back into the previous all-time high, and we've done it quickly. This one kind of just, you know, meandered, and then that rallied, and then this one just moved faster. Like, okay, it's out of steam. The bigger picture of what just happened is this is a bit of a double top, a retest of the neckline. So the neckline is, if I can move the mouse straight, your neckline is right in here. Wow, I got something that's sitting on. All right, something. All right, let me just try to go sideways with the mouse. There we go. Something through from here. I'm working on a table that has some wood grains that I think are causing the mouse to jump. So anyway, this is what I'm looking at, is somewhat of a double top with a retest from today and then a rollover. And you can see that on a big picture on the hourly here. You can see it on the smaller picture. Oops. You can see it on the smaller time frame here. And then if you look something bigger, I mean, the last time we did kind of this double top on this, on a small range like this one is, you know, we came down and then bounced, took out the low, and then rallied the rest of the day. That was going back, I think it was February, where's the date? No, this was March. This was right at the beginning of March. I'm thinking of the other time. That's what I'm thinking of. All right, let me switch over. I don't look at this too much. the 4 hour. So let's see. Where am I going? So February was, yeah, that was in here. Was I just the wrong ones? No, this is right. So here's another instance where we had a double top, came down, small retest, went even lower, and then rallied the rest of the day. And so something like this up here, I mean, here's the bigger one. This to this, and then that didn't even work because it just went bullish. So there isn't really one this size. So the other thing I noticed when I switch over to the 4 hour is it points out this squeeze back here. Or this, I shouldn't say squeeze because there's not a squeeze actually formed here. But I've got the triangle feature turned on because I just enjoy watching Amazon to form these triangles, and there's like 4 of them here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, oh maybe 5. There's like 5 triangles, and 2 of those are like really similar. But anyway, there's a bunch of triangles saying, hey, this is really getting tight. This is building a lot of momentum. What happened then? That was this consolidation over the course of, let's see, if you count all the way back here from, well, most of the year. What is this range? Most of the year? No, most of the, I'm thinking I'm on the daily. No, this is the 4 hour, so it's half a day pretty much. So this is late November through the beginning of the year. So basically the entire month of December was this consolidation here, not much movement, and then after that, I mean, we're just talking December. After that, it just rallied hard, had a couple pullbacks, rallied hard again. Now we're having a couple pullbacks on a smaller scale. It's easy to think that, it's easy to see that kind of fractal pattern and say, hey, you know, we could come back to this level because some of those retests came around and did that. If we come back down to this level, this is, there we go, 1468. 68. That is a very far cry from where we're at right now. It's about a 100-point move from some of the things that we were seeing today, and it would be phenomenal to come back that far, especially if we did it in a short time frame. If it goes that bearish down into this level, it doesn't look like it's that far away from where we're at now. That's around another 55 points to get down there, or 60 depending on how you look at the closing candle. Actually, no, we closed at 1540, so that's around 70, 75, something like that. Anyway, the other thing I'll point out on this is we've got a triangle showing here on the 4 hour, similar to the triangles that we saw back here. We have a bigger one here. This is definitely some sort of consolidation up here. It could be a distribution. That's why it's going to pull back. And then we'll look for the trend to continue because, you know, this is made, you know, higher low, higher low, higher low. Hopefully, potentially a higher low up in this range and then bounce. And it could take a couple days for that to play out. So we will continue to watch Amazon and see how it's going to move, and be looking for trades on these smaller time frames here. We're getting an edge to what we're doing. So keep looking at Amazon, and hope you enjoy the video. This is Justin Amazon.